That's when I was crying. I was crying at that point. Are you okay? And is there anything I can do to help you? Tell me in the comments. Tell me if I'm crazy. There is cannibalism. Hello and good morning. I am very excited today because recently we put together a fall TBR and it's maybe the first actual TBR that I've ever put together. And since picking out these books, they are all that I've been thinking about. I just want to read them, so I kind of understand why TBRs are so popular. So we're gonna put these books and the whole TBR thing to the test, and I'm going to read all of my fall TBR in 1 week. And yes, today is a Thursday. Sometimes weeks start on Thursday. Sea of alpine green, something that will stay. It's so good. Sky is wrapped in blue. I'm back from North Carolina and I have an update. But I knew that I wasn't gonna do the most reading on that trip, although I did start Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. And I do have some thoughts, and it might be a little bit of a surprise. If you remember, the fear going into this book, based on the 1-star reviews from the Fall TBR video, were mostly that it was going to be like another book talk recommendation. I would say that's kind of an accurate description of the book, and yet, wait a second, hold on, let me finish. Because I did stay up until like 1 in the morning last night, getting to like 90% of the book. The book is about this girl named DM who lives in a world where people that come from gods, demigods basically, live completely separate from mortals. They kind of rule over the humans. Miss DM is a human healer who has been told all her life to stay away from the descended, the demigod people. But when her mom goes missing and she takes her job as the descended palace healer and has to deal with the broody Prince Luther while she tries to figure out what the hell happened to her mom, she's starting to realize some things about herself, that she might not be who she thinks she is. If you read fantasy pretty regularly, you can probably guess the entire plot of the book just based on the description. I would even say that less happens than you might think. There's been a reveal that you know is coming from the first chapter, and at 90% of the book, it hasn't happened yet, and I'm just waiting for it to happen. But even if it's not reinventing the wheel or anything, it's been really fun to read. Sometimes you just need a little bit of candy. This is a candy fantasy book. It's sweet, it's sugary, it'll get stuck in your teeth, and maybe you won't think about it a week from now, but while you're reading it, you're gonna have a great time, okay? There's kingdoms, there's magic, there's a dark shadow boy prince and a feisty female main character, and there's swords and mystery. It has it all. It probably won't blow your mind, but you're gonna giggle. I've been giggling the whole time. I've also been rolling my eyes, but we're focusing on the giggles. I do understand not liking the book if you are looking for something more though, and there is space in the story for all of these like really complex dynamics, especially when it comes to like war and revolution. You won't get a lot that's like deeper than surface level, but you will get a good time. And I cannot wait to finish it, and I had to stop myself to update you before I finished. I had to stop myself, put down the book. It's 1 a.m. Put down the book. I didn't want to. Yo, yo, yo. Last night I settled in. I turned on the new hit movie, The Uglies, and I watched the best movie of my life. I know The Uglies movie is like kind of a mess, but I did have an unbelievably incredible time watching it, and I truly feel like it healed a part of my childhood 13-year-old self on the inside. Just getting to watch Tally hoverboard on a roller coaster to find the smoke, like, that was life-changing. And then I tucked myself in bed and I finished Spark. And I have to say I was wrong. I thought that it was just gonna be completely surface level, and while I do think that like a lot of it still kind of was, the thing that I specifically pointed out about how these differing views on how to bring about change and revolution were set up but not really explored, they get explored. It was awesome. I think it was probably the best part of the book. I wouldn't say it was my favorite part of the book because I wasn't like kicking and giggling, which is kind of what I feel like the purpose of this type of book series, romantasy, is for. But I think it was like the best written part of the book. It was really good. DM's childhood best friend is the person that has more violent beliefs, and DM thinks that they should find like a peaceful solution, that nobody more should lose their lives, and that there has to be a way forward without violence. And so when they have this confrontation, Henry says, in all of mortal history, violence is the only thing that's ever worked. Every right that we have, we've had to scrape and claw and kill for. People with power don't give it away out of the kindness of their hearts. They do it when we leave them no other choice, when they fear what we'll do to them if they don't. Full Gale. He full Gales on her. She brought it home, we got there, and I really enjoyed it. This was one of my favorite parts in the book. That being said, pacing was kind of weird. I think that this whole book could have really been half of a book because we never get any answers as to like the questions that are set up in the very beginning that honestly you already kind of know the answer to, and we just like don't really get any. The writing felt very YA to me in a way that I don't really prefer in my new adult novels. The pace of the romance plot was also a little bit off. The world building was kind of all over the place. And you know what? I will be reading the rest of the series, and I had an incredible time. And if you're looking for a candy romantasy, I think this will satisfy you, and I think you will dive in and enjoy the entire series because it's gonna be a slow burn, it's gonna be dramatic, it's gonna have that classic annoying flip-flopping, she's here, she's there, she's here, she's there. And that's exactly what you need sometimes. It's what I need. I can't wait to read the rest. But moving on, I already know that our next book is going to be Butcher, I actually forget what it's called, Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, which I have also started on my trip because I found out that this book takes place kind of between Boston and North Carolina, and that's where my trip was, and I'm from Boston, and I was going back and forth. So I had to start it. It was fate. It was destiny. It was fate. I was meant to. And it's been a unique experience so far. I'm not going to say much because I'm still at the beginning, but this narration style and listening to the audiobook is so unique. The book is a romance between two serial killers that both go after like the scum of the earth. They're hunting down the bad guys to satisfy their serial killer cravings. And they meet each other when they're going after the same victim, but one of them gets there first. So then they start this deal where every year they're going to pick one victim and both go after that person in a little bit of a serial killer competition. And I'm very curious about how this murder competition is gonna go. Hey, I have a few questions for the folks at home that enjoyed this one. Are you okay? And is there anything I can do to help you? There is an explicit scene in this book dedicated to the MMC trying to get the FMC to pick a new ingredient for a creme brulee recipe in this serial killer romance. I'm mostly joking, a little bit. Definitely check out the content warnings though, because there is cannibalism. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's unintentional, and I did think that scene was funny. Honestly, I think it's a great book for fall, okay? As somebody that does not like horror but still wants a taste of the fall creepies, this did give me that. But it's a very explicit book, which is just not my personal preference, and the plot is pretty much totally isolated to only the romance between the two main characters. And it's also very insta-lovey, like from the very first page, which actually brings me to the 1-star reviews because a few of them pointed this out, and I would say that they are right. One review also mentioned that they thought the dialogue was bad and that the MMC Rowan was overprotective in a bad way, which I would personally disagree with. I actually thought the writing throughout the book was really well done. I think it's just not the type of romance story that everybody's looking for, and I would even say there's a time and a place where I would have enjoyed this book a lot more than I did, but it just doesn't align with my taste preferences at the moment, which leads us beautifully into the next book on our list, which is Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and I have been dying to read this book. I just have a really good feeling about it. I feel like it's something I'm gonna enjoy a lot, and I think it's the type of romance story that I'm craving at the moment, so I have high hopes. We'll see how it goes. I've run into a little bit of a problem. I did stay up until 4 in the morning reading this book last night, and it was the last thing that I thought about before I went to sleep, and then I dreamed about it, and then it was the first thing that I woke about when I woke up this morning. And Uprooted is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that is chock-a-block full of magic and grumpy old men. Ew. But it kind of is, because it's about this girl who lives in a town that is protected by the dragon. Basically, there's this wood, capital W, the evil woods, and the only way to keep the woods from overcoming the towns just outside of it is by having the dragon, this wizard dude, stay in his tall, lonely tower and protect them. And his price for protecting the people is to take one of their girls from them every 10 years. And of course, this book is about the next girl that gets taken by the dragon. Of course, it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so he's tragically misunderstood. He is unbelievably grumpy. I don't think he would be everyone's taste because there is no groveling. And yet, it's not even about him though. It's about the magic. So all I can say so far, hold on. These are the notes I wrote at 4 a.m. last night. Magic is so deeply entrenched in the foundation of the world that the story is magic itself. So awesome.
At the heart of this story is this intense magic that forces loved ones to see all of the worst thoughts, all of the darkest secrets they had, all bitterness and resentment and cruelty and shame, everything, and to still choose to fight for each other despite it. And I think that's just wonderful, okay?
That's when I was crying. I was crying at that point. I just had to have a serious conversation with myself about stopping this, about putting an end to this, because I have things that I have to do. So I'm gonna be strong. And I'm gonna go get groceries. But what if they don't save the world? I shouldn't have, but I did finish the book. There are certain fantasy stories that have this like unraveling quality about them, where when you get to the root of the magic, everything kind of unfurls into this explosive, almost fever dream until all of these threads of the story collide. And this is one of those books. And I feel like that's one of the hardest kinds of stories to pull together in the end, because if it doesn't work perfectly, then it just falls completely flat. And oh my god, this story works. But on to addressing the 1-star reviews. Someone had mentioned the over descriptiveness of the book, and I was worried about that being a problem for me. It was not. I felt like the writing perfectly matched the kind of whimsical tone and wild adventurousness of the story. And one thing I really didn't understand about the reviews is that I saw a lot that were almost like outraged at the fact that the dragon was a man and not an actual dragon. So I was kind of expecting there to be some big disappointing reveal, but it clears that up from literally the first page. Like, that is what the first page is about. So that was not a problem for me there. But I will admit, one thing that the reviews did get right is that he is just a grumpy old man in like a young wizard's body. He is 150 years old. He's 150 years old and she is 17. I hate that trope. I don't want to read about that kind of trope. It's not, she's 17 and he's 150. Even though I did enjoy the emotional arc, and I know that it was published at a time when I think a lot of books were being pushed to be YA books, but I still don't know why she couldn't have like at least had a fully developed brain. You know what I mean? Come on. It's been over a week at this point, so that part of the experiment has failed, but we continue on because we only have one book left in our fall TBR, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. All I know is that it's supposed to be sad and that the 1-star reviews mentioned that for them it wasn't so emotional. And I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know if sad is really the right emotion for me right now in this moment. I'm prepping for like a very fun, exciting weekend with my best friend. But today I have a whole bunch of cleaning and chores and errands to do in preparation for the weekend, so it's the perfect time to listen to a little audiobook. Okay, apartment's clean. I went and picked up everything that we needed for the weekend, and I have to give you an update on the book because I am almost halfway through at this point, and I am having some thoughts about it. I'm not enjoying it. I can see the beauty in this story, but there are a few things that I wanted to bring up. okay? The first thing I started to notice that was kind of getting on my nerves a little bit was this like perfect man that the book is making Archer out to be. Okay, wait, so Archer's Voice is about two people that have really struggled coming together and finding solace and love and acceptance and understanding. And so it's beautiful, it's wonderful. But the book has made Archer out to be such a perfect man that it's almost just not believable anymore. Like, I just can't really buy into it. And maybe it's because I'm switching from Uprooted to this. Maybe I just am having a little bit of whiplash here. I don't know. It's just too much perfect. And it makes me think that I know why everybody finds the book so devastating and what's gonna happen. And I can tell you right now that if I'm right, I'm gonna be really upset. I'm actually gonna be angry. Not just sad, I'm gonna be angry. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I feel like I keep harping on explicit scenes in books, and I just have to say, like, I like adult fiction. I don't mind explicit scenes in books, and I think it can add a lot to the story. But once again, I'm not a fan of them in this book. Similar to Butcher and Blackbird, there's just so much of it that as soon as we're really getting to know the characters and see their development, it's like, oh, all of a sudden, like, she's getting in the kitchen. It's just a little bit too much for me. I do hear myself, and I do understand that I'm being a hater. And I am enjoying it. I think their stories are really interesting. I want to know what happens. But those are the things that have been swirling away up there. Well, it has potentially, maybe, perchance, been a little bit more than a week. We're maybe encroaching on the 2-week mark here at this point, which is fine, okay? I've been busy. After visiting my best friend, she came to visit me, and we had a little bit of a brat fall because we went to the sweat tour. It was so good, it was so awesome. So I had good reason to pause, okay? There was a lot going on. And also I had gotten to the point in the book where Bree finds a note. And I thought that something was gonna happen. I thought that I was gonna need to strap in for the real emotional, hard-hitting moments to begin. So I wanted to pause, and I waited until today to finally finish the story and give it the kind of attention that it deserves and to be in the right mindset while I'm reading it. But let me tell you right now, I'm confused. Genuinely, I'm so confused, which doesn't happen a lot when I read, I feel. But I'm really confused. The only thing I've seen about it, other than the 1-star reviews that we read, are TikToks of people literally sobbing over this story. I don't know why. I think maybe I thought that it was sad tears incorrectly. Like, maybe I made an assumption there, and really it's like happy tears, but it seemed like they were all devastated. Maybe I'm not in the mood for this kind of story right now. Maybe the way that it infantilized Archer while telling you not to infantilize Archer kind of pushed me away. Or maybe it was the reliance on explicit scenes to show the connection between the two main characters. Who knows? Who knows what it was? That was a little bit harsh. I didn't hate this story. I don't want you to think I hated this story, but that's kind of just where I've been left. Confused and not particularly emotional. But I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if I missed something. Tell me if I skipped a chapter by accident and like all of the sadness was in that one chapter. I don't know. It's like, it's kind of a happy story. I don't know where the devastation's coming from. Tell me if it's me. Tell me if it's me. I want to know. Even though not all 4 of these books are new favorites of mine or anything, I genuinely had so much fun getting to read the books on a curated list, and I am fully subscribed to the TBR life now. Although I will probably keep them pretty small while I dip my toes in. And it was also really fun to look back at the 1-star reviews of these books and compare them with my experience, because I think I was generally pretty right about my expectation for all of them, which is cool. Know your reading taste. Trust yourself. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Bye!